I've seen some of you before, a couple of times at least, but for anybody who's just joining us at this ceremony, welcome to Principia College. Tonight's baccalaureate service is an opportunity to hear from 4 students elected by their peers in this year's graduating class. Let me begin with a little background on the tradition of the baccalaureate service. Legend has it that the baccalaureate dates to 1432 at Oxford University, where each bachelor degree candidate was required to deliver an address in Latin as part of the graduation exercise. I don't think that's happening tonight. The baccalaureate services continued throughout the Middle Ages, and the tradition has passed down the centuries. The first baccalaureate service on record in the United States was held at Williams College in 1864. Baccalaureate ceremonies have traditionally been focused on the graduating class, designed to place the moment of individual and collective transition out of college and into the wider world into a more reflective context than the commencement ceremony itself. Our baccalaureate service offers an opportunity to pause and reflect on this unique rite of passage. Hear farewell remarks and highlights, and yes, lots of humor, I can vouch for that from our rehearsals, that reflect the range of student experience at this college. Each member of the graduating class has a story to tell. Okay, probably more than one. And I hope you will ask your graduates to share what they have gleaned from their experience here. In addition to the seniors, there is, of course, a very, very special group of people to acknowledge tonight. The families and guests of our graduates, to whom we extend an especially heartfelt welcome. Our baccalaureate service is being live streamed tonight on the college's Facebook page, as well as broadcast internationally over Principia Internet Radio, PIR. Welcome to all who are listening from afar. The baccalaureate is a celebration, so feel free to applaud at the end of the organ offering and the vocal selections, or anywhere else for that matter. We'll begin with an organ offering played by college organist and music history faculty, Dr. Rose Whitmore, titled O Magnum Mysterium, Martin Lauritsen. Following Dr. Whitmore, Dr. Barry Huff will provide the readings. Dr. Whitmore?
Good evening, and thank you. The work that you'll hear tonight, O Magnum Mysterium, which means O Great Mystery, was inspired by a Renaissance still life painting of oranges, lemons, and roses. But this is not a Renaissance piece of music. The music you'll hear was written in the 1990s for chorus by living composer and professor of composition at the University of Southern California, Martin Lauritsen. I have transcribed the piece tonight for organ. The Latin text of the original choral work is about the birth of Christ, and I chose this piece for tonight because it supports the new birth, or the beginning of the next chapter, that is our own personal commencement season. Lauritsen uses simple harmonies from high Renaissance polyphony that convey a message of freshness, sweetness, and a sense of possibility that comes with any new beginning. Most of the musical resolutions are lovely, but Lauritsen includes several dissonant moments, symbolic probably of the questions raised by mortality. The pastor emeritus of the First Church of Christ Scientist, Mary Baker Eddy, wrote, "The new birth is not the work of a moment. It begins with moments and goes on with years. moments of surrender to God, of childlike trust and joyful adoption of good, moments of self-abnegation, self-consecration, heaven-born hope, and spiritual love. Time may commence, but it cannot complete the new birth. Eternity does this, for progress is the law of infinity. O Magnum Mysterium.
Good evening. Tonight's readings in celebration of our graduates are from the writings of Mary Baker Eddy and from the following Bible translations: New International Version, Robert Alter, and J.B. Phillips. The First Church of Christ Scientist and Miscellany. The entire purpose of true education is to make one not only know the truth, but live it. To make one enjoy doing right. Make one not work in the sunshine and run away in the storm, but work midst clouds of wrong, injustice, envy, hate, and wait on God, the strong deliverer. As an active portion of one stupendous whole, goodness identifies man with universal good. Thus may each member of this church rise above the oft-repeated inquiry, "What am I?" to the scientific response, "I am able to impart truth, health, and happiness, and this is my rock of salvation and my reason for existing." Miscellaneous writings. We should remember that the world is wide, that there are 1,000 million different human wills, opinions, ambitions, tastes, and loves, that each person has a different history, constitution, culture, character from all the rest. Then we should go forth into life with the smallest expectations, but with the largest patience, with a keen relish for and appreciation of everything beautiful, great, and good, but with a temper so genial that the friction of the world shall not wear upon our sensibilities, with an equanimity so settled that no passing breath nor accidental disturbance shall agitate or ruffle it, with a charity broad enough to cover the whole world's evil, and sweet enough to neutralize what is bitter in it, determined not to be offended when no wrong is meant, nor even when it is, unless the offense be against God. Isaiah. Now thus said the Lord, your Creator, do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you walk through the waters, I will be with you. And through rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. Should you walk through fire, you shall not be singed, and flames shall not burn you. For I am the Lord your God, Israel's Holy One, your rescuer. You are precious in my eyes. You are honored, and I love you. Exodus. I bore you on the wings of eagles, and I brought you to me. And now, if you will truly heed my voice and keep my covenant, you will become for me a treasure among all the peoples, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. I am sending an angel ahead of you to guard you along the way and to bring you to the place I have prepared. Jeremiah. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Psalms. The Lord guards your going and your coming, now and forevermore. Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures. Spirit God gathers unformed thoughts into their proper channels and unfolds these thoughts, even as he opens the petals of a holy purpose in order that the purpose may appear. Love inspires, illumines, designates, and leads the way. When we wait patiently on God and seek truth righteously, He directs our path. Pilgrim on earth, thy home is heaven. Stranger, thou art the guest of God. Romans. Whatever we may have to go through now is less than nothing compared with the magnificent future God has in store for us. The whole creation is on tiptoe to see the wonderful sight of the children of God coming into their own. Isaiah, you will go out in joy and be led forth in peace. The mountains and hills will burst before you into singing, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. Let's unite in silent prayer, followed by the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever.
Thank you, Dr. Whitmore, and thank you, Dr. Huff. Shall we try singing hymn 179 in our tiptoes in honor of those readings? You'll find the words on the inside page of your program, inside left cover. I'd like to welcome the senior class representatives, Janita Arini, Zach Grenny, Taylor McIntyre, and Tyler Winger.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tyler Wingert.
And I'm Taylor McIntyre, and we are 2 out of the 5 class representatives from the graduating class.
At the beginning of the school year, we were tasked with raising funds for our senior class gift, with the intention of giving back to a community that has served us for the past 4 years. With the input from the community, we were able to shed light on a need that we saw on campus, or didn't see.
How fitting it is for a class that has brought so much light and joy to this campus that we give eternal light. With the help of facilities, we are able to install lampposts on the pathway overlooking the bluff near Radford. This has been a need for several years. With the class supporting it, we were able to raise $3,252 from 100% of the class of 2019. And from a few other outside fundraisers.
We also want to thank Dr. Westerhoff for matching our contributions. We secured more than enough funding to make this project happen.
Thank you all for your generous support.
And now, let's graduate. Hey, we're taking a photo real quick. What?
On behalf of Principia College, I'm delighted to accept this wonderful gift. Congratulations to the class of 2019. Achieving 100% participation takes no small effort. I'm sure there weren't Krispy Kreme donuts involved. So, noted. Really, really great gift. Thank you so much. Now for the reason why we're all here, and that is to hear from 4 students selected by their peers, introduced by senior class marshals Alex Kamau and Madison Ahrens. They'll provide the introductions, and I can tell you that the remarks and presentation comments that have been prepared are profound, they're funny, and they show the range of experience students have here and why this is such a special place to each of them and to each of the members of the graduating class. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure of introducing Lee Ann Weathers. I first met Lee in high school, and Lee, it's been a long time coming. Frankly, I don't know how either of us are on this stage, and here are some reasons why. First, I have never been productive in the presence of Lee. Not pointing fingers, just stating facts. The only lesson I learned in marine biology is how hard you can laugh out of class lessons before you're removed from the classroom. And third, being able to eat some Bandana's barbecue before prom and keep looking fresh is worth more than any college degree. Regardless, this only proves my next point. While most of you may know Lee for her academic achievements, leadership positions, and all-around incredible presence, there's one thing that I remember her most for, and that is her tenacity. Oh yes, she's the type of person to get in your face with an ice-cold stare and say, "Bring it." But that's what makes her so reliable. She will push you to your limits and demand even more of you. That doesn't take away from her talent of pulling you into her world within seconds, just to have you just as excited as she is about her favorite things. Those usually being about biology. I remember one time freshman year, I went to her room for a cup of apple cider, and about 3 hours later, I left with a newfound spiritual connection with her pet turtle. I've been able to witness someone who looked at what she wanted and she got it. After graduation, she will be heading back home to New Orleans and graduating with a BS in biology and a minor in English. She also has an internship at home working with sandhill and whooping cranes at Audubon Institute on their Species Survival Center location. Some other things that she has on the horizon is her being Citizen Science Project Coordinator at Barataria Preserve. All that's left for you to hear is what I've always known about this amazing individual. Please help me in welcoming Lee Ann Weathers to the podium.
Thank you, Alex, for the introduction. Hello, my name is Lee Ann Weathers. Some of you know me as Lee, some of you know me as Leanne, but I can assure you we are the same person. I'd also like to clarify my backstory because it's kind of tricky and I never know what to tell people. I grew up in Houston, Texas, lived there until I was 12, and then my dad moved my mom and me to St. Louis so I could go to Principia Middle School and high school. My parents were never divorced, just living separately due to my dad's job. During my sophomore year of college, we moved to New Orleans, Louisiana, and that's where I live currently. Looking back, I'm like, yeah, people must be very confused of what my name is and where I'm from. Some people might know Lee from St. Louis, while there's no Leanne from New Orleans. If I had $1 for every time I had to explain my complex living situation, and my name for that matter, to people, I could probably pay off my student loans right now. I digress. I'd like to bring it back to family for the rest of this speech. I'd like to thank all the families who either got on a plane or drove cross country to be here tonight, and especially to those who are listening in over PIR. There is so much love being poured into this room right now. The sacrifices that families make to put their children through PRIN is, in my mind, why PRIN is still here. My dad lived separate from my mom and me for 7 years because they didn't want me to go through the public school system in Houston. They felt safe with the atmosphere that PRIN would provide me. And being the only child I am, my mom wanted to be a part of my high school years instead of letting me board. But my family is just one of hundreds who go through similar situations. We all sacrifice something to come to PRIN. Be that living separately from your family for years, mothers and fathers taking on a second job to pay the bills, or even sending in your child from another country. Every situation is unique in its own way, but each has the same common denominator, PRIN. Why is PRIN so special of a place that families risk everything for their children? My mom used to tell me that the greatest gift she ever gave me was the pearl of great price, that pearl being Christian Science. That pearl reminds me of the habitual struggle Mary Baker Eddy tells us about in Science and Health. That is, the habitual struggle to be always good is unceasing prayer. Christian Science isn't easy. I think my family's road to PRIN has been a good representation of what it's like to be a Christian Scientist. It's demanding. So why do we stick with it? When I think of the pearl of great price, I think of the example my parents gave me with their dedication to Christian Science. I am so grateful that my family chose PRIN, even if it meant seeing my dad every 2 weeks. Sure, I still would have been the same Lee or Leanne if we had stayed in Texas, but I wouldn't have seen my mom and dad's example of commitment to each other and to Christian Science. They taught me how to live Christian Science through my actions. I would not have appreciated the pearl of great price concept anywhere else but at PRIN. I'm going to tell you of an experience that really personified this pearl concept to me. My senior year of high school, I was in the upper school production of Bye Bye Birdie as a supporting lead. Obviously, it was very important for my dad to be there, so after working over 12-hour days and running on little sleep, my dad made his way to St. Louis on a plane for my opening night performance. I woke up to a text that morning from my mom saying that my dad had fallen and hit his head in the airport and that he was being rushed to the hospital, and she was on her way to go be with him. I went through my day at school, later hearing from my mom that all was well, my dad was conscious, but she wasn't sure if the doctors were going to discharge him and that he might have to spend the next couple days in the hospital for tests. But while I was on stage that night, I saw both my mom and dad in the audience. He had apparently woken up and walked right out of the hospital room immediately. This was the one weekend he could see his family, and he wasn't spending it in the hospital. And that experience right there embodies to me the pearl of great price. Prin presents us with difficult situations where we can choose to use our pearl. Pearls are literally formed due to an irritation that happens inside a clam. The tough times are the infectious reaction that occurs within the clam, but in turn makes the precious pearl that is Christian Science all the more beautiful. Okay, one last story, one more of a healing. I always chickened out at org, so I'm going to tell it now. To those of you who don't know me personally, my mom recently passed this last October. My dad is still commuting back and forth for work from Houston to New Orleans, so this past winter break, I surrounded myself with family 24/7 when he wasn't there. But there was a 2-week period at the end of break before coming back to school where no one was going to be around. I realized this on a flight home from visiting a friend, and I was not ready for it, and I was hit with panic and overwhelm. After a long night of calming myself down, I made peace with the fact that if I was supposed to have alone time, God knew I was strong enough to handle it. The following day, a friend called me from out of the blue, asking if she could come visit for a week. During our visit, another friend called and asked if she could stay with me the last week of break and drive back to school with me. What a blessing. Both weeks fulfilled. I remember talking on the phone with my dad, assuring him that I didn't bribe anyone to come stay with me, but rather they were simply delivered. Mind you, my dad isn't a Christian Scientist, but he knows God, and boy did we have a demonstration. This experience solidified the idea Father, Mother got to me and taught me to trust. Thank you, Principia, for teaching me to accept the love freely given to me by friends, even when I wasn't looking for it, and to embrace the trials with a, I'm ready for it, teach me what I need to know energy. Thank you for giving me a second family. Thank you for being the environment that I and many others need when we least expect it. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for guiding me here. And thank you to all the other families who have also guided their children here. Thank you.
Next, I have the great pleasure of introducing Kirill Kudayev. Born and raised in St. Petersburg, Russia, Kirill's first time in the U.S., as well as my first time meeting him, were at camp. When we first met, pretty sure he thought I was a 10-year-old camper, probably explaining why he was so kind to me. As we went through camp, we eventually became co-counselors. Soon, he became someone I could constantly rely on, whether it be getting me up on time in the morning to making sure that all of our campers were getting the attention that they needed. Of all the times that we had worked together, he was always the one to take on the jobs that no one would want. His selflessness, passion, hard work never ceases to amaze me. Every time we had the chance to sit down and talk, I knew I was witnessing something great. During his time at Principia, he went from barely knowing how to use a Western keyboard layout to developing mobile apps and being self-taught within a few months of moving to the US. And soon, he was leading the mobile apps and virtual reality club at Principia. He also participated in several high-profile hackathons, code competitions, and competitive internships while in college as well. As of now, only having graduated last semester, he is currently working at Ancestry in San Francisco. He's a software engineer for the company's DNA application. He is a beacon, both in terms of his height and his light. However, that does not mean he's flawless. I'd like to take you back to my freshman year of college. I chose to participate in Ultimate Frisbee for a PE requirement. We found out we were going to be in the same class, So there we are, two camp buds guarding each other for a good old game of Frisbee. Fun, right? So wrong. I have never had so many Frisbees fly over my head in an hour. He is the sole reason I did not sign up for that class the next semester. Regardless, I wouldn't have it any other way. Please help me in introducing my friend Kirill Kudaev to the podium.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Alex, for your wonderful introduction. It's really great to be back and to see everyone again. I'll be honest, there were quite a few things I've learned in college, but spelling the word baccalaureate was definitely not one of them. Until almost a week ago, I used to spell it with CH instead of CC, so I was pretty much saying baccalaureate every time I was typing, like the Bachelor TV show. During our time at college, we all experienced our own ups and downs. There were some amazing moments that we are all very proud of. But there are also some awkward moments that we hope no one else knows about. No one except for our best friends, of course, who will make sure they'll never forget to remind us what happened. They'll remind us about those awkward moments at least once or twice a year and bring them back to our memory. I definitely had my own wins and failures during these 4 years. And one thing I've learned is that all these wins and failures consist of small decisions that we make on a daily basis. The beginning of last year, spring 2018, was particularly challenging for me. Have you ever experienced a moment in your life when a few bad things happen to you and they all happen at the exact same time? Well, that's what happened to me, and it was very hard and overwhelming. I had some issues in my relationship. I was dealing with multiple physical challenges that kind of just came up out of nowhere. I couldn't sleep well, and I just felt very messed up, emotionally and physically. Because of all these challenges, I started getting into a pretty bad mindset. Life seemed to be unfair and just kind of painful. I started feeling resentful and sorry for myself. I started having those moments when you think to yourself, why is this happening to me? Why am I the only one who has to deal with this? I don't deserve this. Life is just unfair. However, one thing that helped me a lot was asking a question. What did I personally do that contributed to this? And asking a question like this did hurt my ego a little bit because it didn't allow me to blame everything on life's circumstances. It forced me to take some responsibility for what was happening. I started reflecting on what got me to the place where I was, and I started to realize that it was mostly just a series of little things, a series of small mistakes that I made for many weeks and months. One small failure over here, one tiny mistake over there. Maybe one day I was watching some stupid YouTube videos at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I thought to myself, it's okay, I'll watch just one more, even though I knew I was lying to myself. The next day I thought, you can be late to your class this morning. You have a chill professor. He doesn't care. You'll still get a good grade. It doesn't matter. Maybe after that, I was late to the gym, and I thought, that's fine. You can skip a day or two. You deserve it. It's really cold outside, and Crafton is just so far away. Maybe I said something mean to someone by accident or on purpose, and I had a clear voice in my head saying, man, you should really apologize for what you just said. But then I started to rationalize. You don't need to apologize for what you did. That person would never apologize to you. I think at this point you get the idea. Often I knew what was the right thing to do, but I just ignored it or rationalized why I shouldn't do it. It was mostly just willful blindness. And all these little failures on my part slowly but surely snowballed into much bigger issues down the road. All these choices accumulate over time, and maybe they were not visible at first. They then have finally all manifested themselves. And when some serious challenges came up, I just wasn't ready to deal with them. But what I think is really awesome, and what really helped me get back on track, is that the exact same principle is true for the opposite. If you have one small victory after another, they tend to compound over time. And maybe you don't see the results right away. Maybe you don't see them for many weeks or even months. Eventually, all this effort and all these small victories, they truly manifest themselves into something good. Maybe you find a job of your dreams, or maybe you build a very strong and loving relationship with someone, or maybe you win freaking nationals. Good job, Corey. Another thing that helped me a lot, and is something I find to be very fascinating, is the environment we've created here. It's an environment where it's okay to ask for help, an environment where you can openly talk about Christian Science, which I got kind of used to over the past 4 years, but it's not a thing back home for many of us here. This is an environment where a lot of people are really trying to be better. And it's very inspiring to be a part of that. I used to live in Backhaus, and it was one of those cold winter days. I got up very early in the morning, and I felt very proud for myself, for doing that. I think it was Saturday too, so it was a big deal. The next thing I see, our house president, Drew Shotwell, is already coming back from his morning winter run. I'm not sure how many miles he ran that morning, but it was very inspiring. It made me to think of pushing myself harder and having fewer excuses in my life. So maybe all these small choices we make, all these small victories, don't only affect us, but maybe these choices, they have this great ripple effect on our friends, classmates, roommates, and our families. Maybe we just don't see the results right away. Or maybe sometimes we never completely understand how our small victories affect someone else's life. I'm sure most of us had at least one roommate who inspired us by their kindness, joy, perseverance, or sense of humor, or maybe by all of these qualities. I'm sure that in most cases, that roommate still doesn't know how much of a good effect he or she had on us. I definitely had a few great roommates like that. So yeah, just a moment of roommate appreciation here. Feel free to give your roommate a nice hug after this event. Last, but certainly not least, I would like to thank Principia for all it does for international students here. As many of you know, I am from St. Petersburg, Russia. I never visited campus before actually coming to study here. So when I started my first semester in January, I didn't really know what to expect from this place. When I got here, I felt very welcomed and supported. And that means a lot, especially when you come from a different culture. I remember when I got here, many students that I've never met before were really nice and excited to introduce me to everyone else on campus. My professors were very patient and understanding. My vocabulary wasn't that good at the time, so they would explain to me what such weird words like semicolon or parenthesis mean. I remember getting to my dorm room for the very first time and seeing that someone already got me a pillow and a nice blanket. That was a small thing, but it was really nice. I think this is a great example of how such small actions as getting someone a pillow or just being friendly to a new student can really shape someone else's college experience. I really like this one quote from Mrs. Eddy's Improve Your Time article, and I think this quote summarizes the lesson I learned really well. Success in life depends on persistent effort, the improvement of moments, more than any other one thing. End of quote. These moments, these small personal victories, they compound over time and influence our lives in very significant ways. And these victories, no matter how insignificant they may seem, don't only affect us as individuals, but they create this ripple effect and help our friends and our families. So let's pay attention to the small decisions we make on a daily basis, and let's continue to support and inspire each other, even after college. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Our next speaker, while many know him for his amazing flow, has given so much to this campus. Zach Grenny is a biology major. He is also an accomplished baseball player and represented Principia on the baseball field for 4 years and was team captain this past season. Ask any of his teammates, and they would tell you that he leads by example with courage and confidence. Now, Zach is also known for a few other things around campus, like being the guy who is responsible for the many Facebook notifications we all get telling us there isn't enough pub workers. We get it, Zach. You're in love with the pub, and we should all work there. On a more serious note, Zach has worked at the pub since he was a freshman and was manager for 2 years. Zach's dedication to the pub is admirable. As I have come to realize, Zach isn't passionate about making the perfect shake or burger. While this is very important, what he is passionate about is being part of such an iconic Principia tradition. Zach's work at the pub is a perfect representation of his servant leadership and incredible work ethic. I remember one day I was walking back to my dorm from Hayfield House and I passed Zach. I wasn't having a good day, and I remember putting my head down as we both got closer to each other. All of a sudden, I hear a loud voice say, "Hey, Maddie." I look up to see Zach smiling at me. I couldn't help but smile back and went about the rest of my day with a renewed sense of joy. Zach had no idea how impactful that simple hello was, but that's what makes it so special. Zach is a natural lifter, and I don't mean weightlifter, but I guess that could work too. What I mean is that Zach goes about his day lifting others up. Whether this is intentional or not, I know that Zach's soul-filled approach to life has lifted the entire campus, so thank you, Zach. Zach plans to move to New Orleans, Louisiana next year to pursue a career in conservation and environmental science. Please help me welcome Zach Grenny to the podium.
Well, we've arrived. Class of 2019, give yourself another round of applause. My name is Zach Rennie, and just like most of you in this room, I'm graduating tomorrow, and I've been taking time to reflect on my experiences here at Principia these past few weeks. Thinking back to freshman year, I really got off to a hot start. My fall semester roommate transferred in the spring, and one of my friends told me they had never been more physically unattracted to someone in their whole life. College was sick. I cooled off a little bit after that, and I just started going to classes every day and doing homework. My experience isn't what I only want to share with you all, but also give gratitude for. I have been blessed, as many of you have, with opportunities that have unfolded into quite amazing experiences. I decided that what better way to share these experiences with you all than story time. So let's take a walk down memory lane. I played 4 years of baseball here, and I could never have guessed that it would have gone the way that it had. I had a pretty rough high school campaign, getting cut every other year and never really getting too much playing time, so I didn't really know what type of player I was developing into until I got here. In most sports here at the college, the sense of family, sister, or brotherhood and commitment to excellence is something that I always cherish and be grateful for moving forward in life, taking the lessons from success and disappointment with me forever. But on top of that, there of course were many funny stories to share, and just like how I explained how hot of a start my fall semester got off to, I have a story from my first road trip as a member of the Principia baseball team. I was sitting in the front row of the bubble bus, and as many traveling athletes do, I tried to take a quick power nap. So, naturally, I leaned my chair back, put my feet up on the armrest of the passenger front seat, and began to fade in and out. We hit a bump, and I slid my feet right onto the fire extinguisher that conveniently had no pin in it. So, as you can imagine, my tree trunk legs came hammering down onto a fire extinguisher trigger, and it sprayed everywhere. It hadn't really hit me as to what had happened until Coach Marston pulled over, and much needed to, because I had pretty much coated the entirety of the front seat in extinguisher fluff. We got off the bus, and I shamefully grabbed the little dustpan and broom and began shuffling the extinguisher fluff into the pan as quickly as I could, because we needed to get back on the road. That, along with many other funny experiences, captivated a fulfilling 4 years of Panther baseball, and definitely a time in my life that I would not have changed for anything. And as Maddie mentioned, another part of my experience that I will be forever grateful for is my time working at the pub. From a simple grunt, working my way up the ladder to the role of being a prestigious student manager. I got to meet and work with a lot of different and unique individuals. I'll never forget my first shift. Justin Duffy, our RA at the time, ordered 2 triple cheeseburgers, and then the person behind him conveniently ordered 2 more triple cheeseburgers. With the help of the master fry cooks that were my manager and trainer, I whipped up some of the greasiest, yes, most beautiful mountains of meat you've ever seen. This event was the beginning of my journey to becoming the master chef. Rest assured, I survived that crucible and continued working at the pub. Being a student manager at the pub has showed me a lot in regard to my character and my ability to manage a team to be successful. Again, lots of lessons that I will carry with me for the rest of my life and hopefully apply in my professional life. I have one more story I'd like to share with you, this one being about my abroad that I went on in the fall of my junior year to Peru. We did a lot of amazing things in Peru, hiking in the Andes Mountains, wrangling turtles, going to Spanish classes, and getting to stay with some amazing homestay families. But, as many of my peers who went on the abroad with me will attest to, there is one specific instance in Los Órganos that stands out. Los Órganos is a beach town in Peru, and it's absolutely stunning. One day, we were meeting for lunch before heading out to do some of our turtle research, and I stubbed my toe on some concrete. No big deal, right? Well, I looked down at my toe, and it was a little more than just stubbed. My peers and professors rushed to my side to make sure I was taken care of, and they got me patched up quickly. But the point of this story isn't that I stubbed my toe. It was what happened in between that matters. I was standing up when suddenly I got really lightheaded, and I actually passed out on the person who was standing behind me. I regained consciousness after about 2 seconds and got my toe taken care of. I felt good, got up, and then even sat down and began eating my lunch, which was a salad. Not even 10 seconds later, I was unconscious again. But this time, I fell unconscious directly into my salad. I had stubbed my toe, something we've all done a million times, and passed out into my lunch because of it. And I am, believe it or not, grateful for this experience because while it was comical, it showed the care and support of not only my peers, but my professors on the abroad, as they were the ones who took care of me. This environment is something that I'm extremely grateful for because it's what's present on campus all the time. An ever-caring and nurturing place that takes to our every need, whether it be mental, physical, or metaphysical. But enough about me. I want to talk about what I'm grateful for in regarding to our class as a whole. We're a tiny class, about 87, but we're a resilient bunch, and I'll never forget the hardships we've endured. Flooding, boil orders, and even dining services food. I'm just kidding, the boil orders weren't that bad. Joking aside, we've been through the ringer together and we've come out on the other side better because of it. We've been a part of so many amazing changes regarding our school, some of us being driving forces or simply supporting roles. We were an active part in improving our school for the better, and it definitely shows. This is the potential that the class of 2019 has to benefit the world. Each and every one of us brings something unique to the table regarding our field, not only intellectually, but metaphysically, and that's definitely a leg up we have on the rest of the world. Our journeys moving forward are going to take turns, go up and down hills, but these are the parts that offer the most learning and growth. But in the end, happiness is something we all strive for. There have been moments where all I knew was blissful happiness because I didn't have to search for it. Hitting my first collegiate home run, getting an A on a tough paper, and even meeting my girlfriend. But there are also moments when it seems happiness is far away, but when we battle for it, those are the moments that mean the most. I know I said that I was done with stories, but I've got one last one. This past baseball season was tough. Baseball is something that I've always expected myself to perform well at, so coming into my senior season, I had even higher expectations for not only the team, but myself as well. I didn't find the success that I was searching for because at times I felt I was trying to force it. This was starting to affect my drive to play, and I really no longer was feeling the childlike happiness that I normally felt from playing. I found myself thinking, only this many more games, or I hope I don't get another bat this game. My confidence was low, and I just really wasn't finding joy. But one day, out of the blue, one of my teammates came up to me and told me to simply express gratitude for something. It could be anything. So I looked out at the field, and I saw all of my teammates absolutely loving what they were doing. And it was in that moment that the switch was flicked, and I'd found true happiness in playing again. I told myself that I needed to stop playing for myself and to start playing for them. A simple moment of gratitude had such a substantial impact on not only the remainder of my season, but also in showing me how finding happiness, even in the lowest parts of our hills, of our journeys, can make an incredible impact. As we move forward in life, strive to find what makes you the happiest, whether that's your dream job, having a family, owning a dog, or having the biggest house on the block. Find lifelong happiness, because once you get there and can look back on your journey and share your stories like I have with you today, I truly believe that life cannot be any sweeter. So, with that in mind, be grateful for your journey and experience. Go out, follow your dreams, accomplish what you set out to do, and above all else, be happy. Congratulations, class of 2019. Thank you.
I am so thrilled to introduce our next speaker. However, there really isn't a need because I'm pretty sure everyone on campus already knows her. Lauren Weiss has graced Principia with her warm hugs and bright smile since the day she arrived as a freshman. Since then, Lauren has humbly served as the Christian Science Organization president, a resident assistant, a student senator, swing dance club president, and dance pride choreographer, along with many other things. Lauren is also a double major in economics and educational studies. Aside from all of these accomplishments and leadership roles on campus, I think that the biggest mark that she has left on Principia is with the people. Lauren has a way of making you feel like the most important person in the entire world. I still remember the first time I met Lauren. We were both CITs at a Christian Science summer camp. We had never met before, but she approached me with the warmest smile and embraced me with a hug that felt like we were long-lost friends being reunited. It was practically a movie scene. This is a perfect example of how natural it is for Lauren to make meaningful friendships immediately. I have also had the opportunity to spend time with Lauren in Aotearoa, New Zealand on a Principia abroad, as well as through dance production and many education classes. In all of these experiences, Lauren never failed to bring a deepness of thought that pushed all those she was working with to new heights. The quote from Mary Kimball Morgan perfectly describes Lauren: deeply in earnest and spiritually lighthearted. Another quality Lauren so regularly expresses is passion. When Lauren decides that she loves something, she goes all in and never looks back. And as many of you know, this passion sometimes comes to Lauren in the form of tears. And I'll bet anyone in the audience $5 that Lauren cries during her speech tonight. I know I'm not alone in experiencing Lauren's sweet sincerity, and I'm certain that she will warm the hearts of many as she travels to Spain to teach English and study global education next year. Please help me welcome Lauren Weiss.
Hey, class of 2019, we made it. Take a second, breathe it in. All the papers are done. All the finals are over. Your capstone is complete. 16 plus years of school, you did that. Woo! And tomorrow, our only assignment is to walk across the stage. Too easy. Part of me thinks there's going to be a catch, a pop quiz before we get our diplomas. But really, all we gotta do is know how to shake someone's hand, which is harder than you think. When I was told I was going to be giving a speech at Baccalaureate, my first thought was, how am I not going to cry? Now, as Maddie mentioned, I have never learned to hold back my tears because to me, they are an important expression of love, of depth, of happiness, of sadness. And there is no doubt that I love Principia and the wonderful people here. There's a depth of knowledge gained and a depth of friendships made. And there are so many happy memories that make this bittersweet. But I don't think any of you would enjoy watching me bawl on stage. So I wrote a speech. And I tried my best not to make it too sappy. I failed. Please bear with me. I have learned and grown so much while being here at Principia, and a lot of it has been because of the people sitting before me and the people sitting behind me. I wouldn't have wanted to go through these 4 years with any other group. From freshman orientation to this finals week, I knew I could always find a friend to lift me up no matter what. One of the big lessons I've learned here is that if you need help, all you have to do is ask for it. There is a facilitation game maybe you guys have played at camp or an outdoor ed class. And if you haven't, I'm sorry, I'm going to ruin it for you. But the game is set up with a piece of string or rope in between trees or columns or whatever you have. And the goal is to get out of the maze, but you're blindfolded and you can't talk. The instructor tells you to hold on to a rope and don't let go until you've completed the maze. They also tell you that you can raise your hand if you need any help. And they send you off. Now, you can work on this maze as long as you want, but there is only one way out of it, and that is to raise your hand, asking for help. Someone will then come along and whisper to you, "Congratulations. Take your blindfold off. You made it out of the maze." And when you've made it out of the maze, you can go around to the other people who are raising their hands and tell them that they've done it. There are people who get so into it They refuse to raise their hands, to ask for help, because for some reason we equate that to giving up. That if we need help, we've failed. But this is not true. Sometimes we may feel like we are blindfolded, trying to figure out an impossible maze. But when we ask for help from our peers, from a stranger, from our families, from God, the blindfold is removed, and we can finally see the maze in its nothingness. There have been times when I have been determined to have a healing on my own and suffered for days until I finally reached out for support from a friend or a practitioner, and I was immediately healed. I found myself struggling with all manner of other things that come up during college, thinking I was alone until someone reached out randomly or gave me a hug or made sure my needs are met. And in the face of love expressed through them, I am reminded of raising my hand in amaze, because we are not alone, and we were never meant to be. This does not stop when we graduate. The community we've created here will always be there, and we should not be afraid to reach out to each other and to those in our new communities. This spring semester, I found myself counting down the lasts. The last move-in day, last time lugging those incredibly heavy boxes up and down stairs, last time having our first day of classes, club fair, winter convocation, last time being bribed with Krispy Kreme to take a survey, the last spring break adventure, last spontaneous movie night with friends, last midnight run to IHOP, or Steak and Wait. Last time staying way too long in the pub when you have hours of homework. Last shift at work. Last time seeing spring bloom on campus. Last time dealing with the annoying floods. Oh wait, never mind. Last house reveal, initiation, house meeting, treat night. Last time seeing the spring play, last parents' weekend, last dance production, last home game, last hymn sing, and last CSO testimony meeting. Well, of course, for some of us, these are not our lasts. Some of us will stay here for a bit. Some will come back here to work in 2 or 10 years. And some of us will bring our kids here, hoping they can relive some of our favorite lasts. But when I remember all of these lasts as firsts, how exciting and wonderful they were to experience with you all, to experience again and again each year as they got more familiar. How lucky we were and how lucky we are to look out on our lives coming up and all the firsts that are yet to come. It is time to celebrate that, to look to the future and see all the wonderful possibilities that are out there, all the opportunities to do good, to bless others, and to let love express us. You all have this amazing ability to touch other people's lives, and I know that because you've touched mine. Be kind, love fully, and hug. Go into life with an open heart and an open mind, seeing the children of God and the beautiful world love has created. We might not be in the same maze anymore, but we know how to ask for help. We know how to help others, and no matter how scary they may seem, we are ready for these new firsts. Thank you so much for coming here tonight.
Let's give them all a round of applause. Now we have a special treat. The Bel Canto Chamber Singers will sing 2 selections. The first, If Ye Love Me by Thomas Tallis, will be directed by Carson Landry, a junior music major. And the second selection, A Red, Red Rose by James Mulholland, will be directed by Professor Wendy Reynolds. Carson?
If ye love me,
Just some reminders as Bel Canto exits the stage about tomorrow's commencement schedule. The buffet luncheon in the dining hall begins at 11:15 and will close at 1 o'clock. We look forward to welcoming all children this year. If you prefer or need it, seating will be provided in the lobby of Cox Auditorium along with a video monitor, so you'll be able to see your graduate walk across the stage. Cox Auditorium doors will open at 1:15. The processional begins at 2 o'clock. Afterwards, as our graduates leave Cox Auditorium, resident life staff and other Principians will line the colonnade to help celebrate graduates as they process to the chapel green. The weather looks good. Keep up the prayers. We would like to have that reception on the beautiful chapel green to honor the gift of the 2019 graduate class. Lastly tonight, the real reason I think everybody is here, I'm told, I'm new here, is that there are free milkshakes at the pub. And I don't think Zach had anything to do with those. They're already made and they're ready to go. They're fantastic flavors, and it's on a first come, first served basis, but rest assured, I'm sure there's enough for everyone. So thank you for joining us for this wonderful occasion, and see you tomorrow.